The last video on sources just talked about where to find information. This video is going to focus more on how to use the information in your paper and how to make a reference list at the end of your paper. Now, when you're introducing a source, maybe you found some information from Dr. Park. You can use words like claims, states, explains, or according to in your paper. Now, if Dr. Park has some special credentials, you might want to talk about that in your paper. It's your choice, but it might make your source sound a little stronger. So if you say, for example, Professor of Psychology at Harvard University, Dr. Park explains, or according to Nobel Prize winner Dr. Park, these sound a little bit stronger than just Dr. Park. Many of you will find your information in secondary sources. Secondary sources are things like news, magazines, newspapers, things like that. Now, if you do, oftentimes we don't focus on the reporter as such. We would focus more on the organization. Because, for example, in the first line here, it says, according to CNN reporter John Jones. We don't know who John Jones is, but we definitely know CNN. Or you can just leave out the author altogether. You can say, according to an article in last month's Newsweek magazine. Here, the strength comes with the secondary source, the organization, and not the person. There's many different styles to cite your sources, but in this class, we're going to use APA style. So everything I tell you in this video and in class will be on APA style. The first question that many students have is, what do we need to source? Do we need to source every little piece of information you put in your paper? Actually, you don't. Just when the information is specific or not well known to the public. Let's look at the example of smoking again. If I say smoking kills many people each year, something like this you don't need a source for. Many people know that this is true. However, if you give something specific, like there are 13,000 deaths every day from smoking-related diseases. Something like this is a very specific statistic, and this needs to be sourced. When you use information in your paper that's not a direct quote, all you really need is the author and the year that it's published. This you need for all sources in your paper. However, if it is a direct quote, you need a few more things. You actually need 4 things. You have the author, the year of publication, then you need to have the page number or a paragraph number for internet sites, because oftentimes internet sites don't have a page number on them. And then you also need quotation marks. Let's look at this example of a quote here. It says, according to Oshima and Hogue, it is important to use transition signals to show the connection between ideas within a paragraph. Now, if you look here, I have the author, I have the year published, the year is 2007, I have quotation marks, and then at the end, I have page number. So since this is a quote, I need all 4 of these in my paper. This is the exact same quote, but done in a different style. Now, if, for example, Oshima and Hogue, if they're really famous, you might want to say according to. However, if these are authors that might not be well known, then you probably don't need to use their name. So you still need all 4. You still need the quotation marks, you need the author, year of publication, and the page number. However, here you can just put Oshima and Hogue 2007, page 156, all together at the end. Again, if you summarize or paraphrase something, you don't need all 4 things. You just need the author and year is published. So if you look here, it says transition words are used to indicate a relationship between ideas within a paragraph. They're also used to illustrate how one paragraph is related to other paragraphs. Now this isn't the quote. I took the quote from before, I changed some of the sentence structure and words and put it into my own style. So if I do that, I only need to have the author and year of publication. Sometimes for internet sites, there's no author. And when this happens, what you want to do is take the first few words of the title. Take the first few words of the title and the year that it was published, and that would take the place of the author and year. Sometimes the opposite occurs, where you have many authors. This happens very often in academic journals. So the basic rule is, if there's 2 authors, list them both in your paper. If there's 3 to 5 authors, the first time, list them all. However, if you use the same source again, then just list the first name and et al. Et al kind of means like and also. If there's 6 or more authors, then what you want to do is just list the first name and then et al. Sometimes there's no author and no title, especially from organizations. If this happens, then all you want to do is list the organization and then put the date. Another thing that occurs quite often is that you can't find a date. And if that happens, then you just put the author and you write ND, means no date. I'm not going to read this example to you, but feel free to pause the video if you like. But all this is to show you that in one paragraph, it is very common to have more than one source. Sometimes there's 2, 3, 4 different sources if different people have said different things about the same topic that you're talking about. Okay, so we finished kind of talking about how to use information in your paper. But at the end of your paper, you need to make what's called a reference list. Sometimes it's just called sources. But at the end of the paper, you have to give a little bit more information than the information you gave in your paper. Our reference list style for this class is APA. Now, anytime you use the source in your paper, you have to give us information at the end of the paper. That way it's easy for someone else to find exactly where you found your information. So it is a list of sources at the end of your paper. You want to present your list in alphabetical order by family name, not in the order that you used it in your paper, but by alphabetical order of the author's family name. What makes this a little different also is you want to indent after the first line. That means the first line is over to the left-hand margin, and the second, third, fourth line, and so on are all indented. This is basic APA style for internet reference list. If you look at the format here, you have the author. Again, author's family name is first. So the family name should be first, followed by the first initial, the date published, the article name, the name of website. So this would be like CNN News or something. Retrieved. Now retrieved, you actually want to write the word retrieved. And the date is the date you saw the article. So the first date is the published date. When was the article published? It could have been published in 2010. But the date retrieved is today's date, the date you saw it. And then from, the URL. Now again, this is only for internet reference list. If you have a book or a journal article, it's going to be a little bit different in the style. Let's look at a real example here. If you look, the first thing is the family name, McPherson. The second thing is the given initial, J. So maybe the person's name is James or Jane, something like that. But just McPherson, the family name, and then a J. Then the next thing is the date published. When was the article published on the internet? The next thing is the article title. After that, you want to talk about what date you retrieved the article. That means what day did you see the article the first time? So for me, it was April 5th, 2019. That's followed by from and then the URL. Okay, and one more thing to remember is make sure everything is in alphabetical order by the family name. So if you have 5 different sources that you use, there should be a list of 5 in the reference list and all in alphabetical order by the family name.